Hey guys, first Guardsman here, and so I'll be talking about a triple plasma Techmarine build for Space Marine 2 patch 13 using the brand new heroic plasma pistol. Now, the Techmarine is in a pretty strong spot at the moment, really ever since they buffed up his team perk Battlefield Repairs to give you an additional armor back. He is a pretty damn strong class in the game. You have a ton of AoE damage, and also the Plasma Incinerator in this patch got a buff to the body shot damage and charge speed, and feels way better now. So for that reason, we're going to be building around that today. Now, first up, we take the rate of fire variant here. Now, I will say, as of this patch, the Plasma Incinerator on other variants, like the firepower, venting speed, or like ammo capacity one, these are all usable. We are not taking those today, mainly because we are using the heroic plasma pistol, and this one only fires charge shots. So unlike the rate of fire plasma, you are not able to use your secondary for CHP regen reliably at all. So for that reason, you definitely want to have a faster rate of fire on this to charge up your shots, because this is a huge portion of your CHP. Now, for the perk tree on this, I would take the perk Blast Radius first. Damage radius of a charge shot increases by 10%. Moving here into the perk Rampage. After killing 7 enemies in rapid succession, you will deal 25% more damage for 10 seconds. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This is a nice perk to have because it does help you hit breakpoints occasionally against some Majoris in the game. The big issue with the Techmarine is that you do not like triple shot a Majoris Tyranid Warrior in base, unlike the plasma boost on tactical. But that being said, the common shots on this gun now, they can help you like whittle down enemies that are pretty low far more than they did before, and also their CHP recovery is a lot better, so it's not as bad as it used to be. Just keep in mind, you will not be damage nuking guys in 3 charge shots. That's some particular setups. Next perk here is Efficient Charge. Charge shots from this plasma weapon use 2 less energy. You definitely want perks like Efficient Charge on the Techmarine, because Techmarine has no ammo regen in this game, unlike Tactical, and Tactical kind of just like circumvent any ammo issues of this perk alone on the Plasma Incinerator especially. So on Techmarine, definitely pick up all of these options. Next perk here is Charge Speed. Projectile speed of charge shots increases by 25%. Moving here into the perk Blast Radius, up here into the perk Common Speed, because the projectile speed of common shots is actually pretty useful now, since they do recover you a pretty decent amount of CHP by comparison to before. And the next perk here is Adamant Restoration. When your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve is restored by 25% of the maximum capacity, cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, I'll be honest, guys, when you are playing the Techmarine, if you want to skip over this perk and go down here for Adamant Velocity or a perk like Perfect Radius, you can definitely do that. Retaliation is nice to have, so I do like picking this up, but if you drop below 30% HP on Techmarine, guys, I'll be real, you're probably going to die, because this class has very little in the way of health damage reduction. You actually have the lowest HP total in the entire game aside from the Sniper, but Sniper has perks like Conviction to circumvent that, and you only have armor and range damage reduction, so when that armor breaks, you're kind of cooked. So just be a little careful with that one. Next perk here is Fast Venting, down here into the perk Perpetual Velocity for faster charge shot, and the final perk is Efficient Charge, again into Home Precision. Now, this is a super underrated perk on the Plasma Incinerator. This will make your maximum spread decrease by 50% when firing without aiming. This makes you way more accurate on the hip fire, and hip firing the Plasma Incinerator is really nice at close range, so I do really enjoy this perk. And you're not giving up a ton for this anyways, because perks like Great Might, perks up here like Common Cooling, they don't matter too much, and these 2 perks here like Common Efficiency and the shot down here, or the perk down here, Balance Cooling, they just kind of suck, so I'll just skip over those. That's pretty much all there is for the Plasma Incinerator. Now, for the secondary weapon here, we have the brand new Heroic Plasma Pistol. This one can one-shot Majoris. It can do ridiculous damage on Tactical especially, but even here, it is a very powerful AoE tool, and there are a couple ways to build this thing, because our heroic perk effect is called Overcharged Plasma Coils. You will only fire charge shots with increased damage, but charge time is longer. Now, this one makes it so you have a 5 business day charge up speed, but once you fire off one shot, you will overheat immediately. Now, the way you can circumvent that is by taking the perk over here, Charge Cooling. This will leave you at 90% overheat instead, which is going to allow you to shoot a second shot. But like I said before, it says a 5 business day charge up speed, and because of that, getting a second shot off is not very practical, especially on a class as squishy as Techmarine, but if you do set it up properly, you can put out a truly ludicrous amount of damage. Now, the way I'm building it today is going up here with Plasma Collection into the perk over here, Rapid Cooling, and then we go over here into the perk Plasma Collection again, because this weapon actually has a higher base magazine capacity than most of the other relic tier options. The only one that actually goes higher than this is the magazine capacity version, so these percentage increases are a little bit more valuable for you, so pretty nice there. And next perk here is Blast Radius for a 10% increased radius on our charge shot, because your charge shot on this one hitting more enemies is super damn useful, so you definitely like this perk. Next perk here is Perpetual Velocity for a faster shot charge speed. Like I said before, this one already makes you take forever even with the perk active, so charging up your weapon here, any reduction to that you definitely want. Next perk here is Plasma Collection again, moving here into the perk of Blast Radius again, and then we go over into the perk Retaliation for 25% more damage for 10 seconds on a perfect time dodge, and the final perk is Divine Might, which you could just like, you know, skip over here and take the exact same perk over here if you want to for like a funny meme time, I guess. But the point is, this is the damage setup, and then alternatively you could go up here just for like charge cooling, and then either take your last perk point for Plasma Collection or Divine Might, and that is up to you. And that's pretty much all there is for the secondary here. Now for the Omnissian Axe, now I know in my other Techmarine guide I did put out an Argent Edge build, but a lot of you guys love the Power Axe, you love the Xenophase blade, and you love the Omnissian Axe, so we're going to show an Omnissian Axe build here today. Now, what variant of the Omnissian Axe is the best? Well, that would be the balanced version. I've seen a lot of people say they like the heroic one. Guys, the heroic one here, this is probably the worst heroic in the entire game currently. The heroic perk effect is called Word of the Omnissiah. The attack after Omnissian Rush, it deals increased damage based on the duration of the rush. You actually get like equivalent, if not better, damage on a balanced version for this anyways, and the balanced variant has a 19 strength, 7 speed, and 13 cleaving potential, which does allow you to hit breakpoints to one-shot Majoris off a single combo of like a parry into your overcharge, so really good option here. And also on the Techmarine in general, you want gun strikes so you can actually set up your weapon in the first place, and because of that, the balanced parry window here is really nice to have, because that still allows you to have all of that damage and gun strikes, unlike the block version here. Now for the perk tree, I do just build it the same way as last patch, because I do think this is the overall best way to set up your Omnissian Axe currently, at least for the balanced version. So number one, we take the perk Perpetual Strength, moving here into the perk Armor Siphon, killing a foe with the Omnissian Strike restores one armor segment, the cooldown is 60 seconds, and then I pick up the perk here Perpetual Strength again into the perk Static Charge. Now this one says each foe hit during Omnissian Rush increases damage of 10% within 40 seconds, not 40 seconds, 4 seconds here. The description here is a little bugged, but the point is you get more damage during your Omnissian Rush. And then we go into the very strong perk here, which is Iron Rush. Incoming range damage is reduced by 50% while using the Omnissian Rush attack. Now the Omnissian Rush is actually ever so slightly faster than like a normal run, so because of that, having a 50% range damage reduction on the gap close is super useful against chaos. You can kind of like rush around, just like dodge enemy shots, and the ones that do like snag you, you'll take way less damage on. And also you have a ton of other options for range damage reduction here, like scramble targeting anyways, so really good for him to like stack up on top of other stuff. Next perk here is Armored Strength, and down here into the perk Perpetual Strength again. And then we pick up the perk here Energize. While charging or releasing electric discharge, you do not destroy any hits and cannot be knocked back. This one is pretty good. It's one of the only sources of no knockback on the Techmarine in general, though I will say we do have an extrable salvo on this build, so you'll still have no knockback if you don't want to take this, but you're always going to take this because this leads you into the perks that really matter, which are Rapid Charge. Electric Discharge charges 40% faster, and the most important perk, which is Mighty Blast. Power Discharge releases 2 shockwaves. Now, Mighty Blast is what allows you to one combo the Majoris in this game on a single charge, because otherwise you will have to charge up your weapon all over again for another one. The second hit will do just enough to like one-shot Tyranid Warriors and stuff like that, so definitely pick this up. This is the best combo for the Omnissian Axe, and like the only other variant I would really take for like a different setup, like the block one, but even here, you still want this because Mighty Blast is just so much better than the perk up here Explosive Strike, and for that reason we do prefer it on this build. And that's pretty much all there is for the Omnissian Axe. And now for the perk tree, we are going for the triple plasma build, so of course we do take the perk down here, Plasma Enhancement. The servo gun now fires exploding plasma projectiles at enemies. You pretty much always take this perk with the perk over here, Omnissian Fury. Servo gun shots at enemies on fire. Now, the burn effect did get like a 20% reduction in damage against bosses, and guess what? It still cooks bosses, especially if you have tactical on your team for Auspex, because burn damage in this game is just that ridiculous. And against hordes, which like this will be hitting all the time anyways, it is still very strong, so definitely pick this up. Next perk here is Arc Cleave. Damage from charged melee attacks increases by 20%. This is a 20% multiplicative melee damage increase to your discharge attack on your Omnissian Axe. This functions the exact same way as Overcharge on the Assault class here, so just keep that in mind. It is just like a slightly different perk description for whatever reason. Next perk here is a Long Range Barrage. Range damage of ranges greater than 20 meters increases by 25%. This is a nice range damage buff, especially for your Plasma Incinerator, because this gun actually hits like a truck sometimes if you do stack it up on top of that. And this will also benefit your Heroic Plasma that pretty much always hits like a truck anyways. Next perk here is Battlefield Repairs. Team members restore 1 additional armor segment for finishers on Majoris or Extremis enemies. This is still the best team perk for Techmarine in patch 13. Additional armor in this game is just super strong as an effect, especially the range damage reduction, because range damage reduction effects, these do affect your armor, not just your HP, and unfortunately the Techmarine has nothing in the way of HP damage reduction, so definitely helpful here. Next perk here is an Extrable Salvo. While the servo gun is active, you don't lose 12 heavy hits and you cannot be knocked back. This effect lasts 15 seconds after deactivation. Being able to have no knockback active for 15 seconds is super nice, because even on the Plasma Incinerator here or the Plasma Servo Gun, all you have to do is just like turn it on for 1 second and then turn it off again, and because of that, after one shot you have a 15-second lingering effect, and usually you'll be using this in a horde anyways, so no knockback here, pretty nice. Next perk here is Replenishing Salvo. Killing or incapacitating an enemy with the Servo Gun restores an equipment charge. The cooldown is 75 seconds. A 75-second cooldown on Melta Bomb, Pyroblast canister, and stuff like that. Super strong effect, really powerful option still in the game, and even though Augmented Tarantula is also very good, I just prefer this one because equipment is that strong. Next perk here is Fortifying Salvo. Killing or incapacitating an enemy with the servo gun restores an armor segment. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, this is really easy to pull off. All you have to do is just like shoot a Hormigaunt in the face with the plasma gun, and usually something in this game will die to your plasma enhancement at some point. So having this on a 30-second cooldown, super easy to do over and over again. Final perk is Omnissian Fury, for the obvious reason of burn being OP with plasma, and that's pretty much all there is for the main perk tree. Now, for our prestige perk options, we do have the luxury of skipping over chained headshots because we have no headshot damage on this build, and the next perk we take instead is Unflinching Focus. You are invulnerable to damage while activating trenchless sentry guns. If you are trying to use a sentry gun ever, which is every single Techmarine build in the entire game, you just take this perk, so it's pretty much mandatory. Next perk here is Stim Boost. Medicate stims for 40% more HP into the perk over here, Defensive Stance. If you're surrounded by 5 or more enemies, you take 20% less damage from range attacks. This perk is super underrated, guys. Like, Scramble Targeting is a very powerful perk effect in the game. It's like the exact same perk as this, though I will say if you want more blast radius on your equipment, you could take this one, and I would pretty much always skip over Volatile Sentry because this one is way too unpredictable, and also 1000% damage increase here. That still only comes down to like one-shotting Majoris, like not super useful, and like half the time the Tyranid snipers shoot your sentry gun anyways. Next perk here is Furious Gunstrike. After using a Gunstrike, melee damage increases by 25% for 5 seconds. This is really easy to pull off in the middle of an Omnissian Axe combo to have it trigger on your discharge attack, so a really good synergy there, and that's pretty much all there is for the prestige perk option. And that is pretty much all there is for the triple plasma build here. There are a couple other ways you could set this up. You could take things like a Power Axe, a Xenophase Blade, or an Argent Edge again, and then like build for stuff like Methodical Destruction in your perk tree. That will help you out for like breakpoints at times with the Plasma Incinerator, but for the most part, I do think this is the best setup overall, and the Omnissian Axe, especially in the operations and hard strats, this thing is very strong, and hopefully this build guide helped you. If you like content like this, subscribe for more, and if you want to watch me live to ask me questions about the game or just coming out, you can find me here on YouTube or on Twitch with a link in the video description alongside a link to my community Discord. And as always, take it easy, thanks for watching, buy. Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and so I'll be talking about a Deathwatch Techmarine build using the Xenophase Blade, Heroic Plasma Pistol, and the Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle. Now, the main idea behind this build is using our Burn Bolter to maintain CHP on top of our Heavy Bolt Rifle grenade launcher portion, and also building around our turret to nuke down bosses with Arc Cleave for melee damage on the Xenophase Blade. Now, the Heavy Bolt Rifle is super strong on the Techmarine for multiple reasons. Number one, the actual bolt portion of this gun is quite strong on him because you have perks here like Remote Threat that gives you more damage at range that pair very well with perks he has in his own tree like Long Range Barrage for even more damage at range. And also, the grenade launcher portion of this gives him a ton of AoE that he usually lacks on like the range side of things outside of stuff like the Plasma Incinerator, and it also gives him a tremendous amount of contested health recovery because the big issue with the Techmarine is that if you ever lose your armor on this class and start to lose your CHP, you're in a really bad spot. Like, getting back your contested health quickly is very important on this class, and grenade launchers, they're pretty much instantaneous on every single grenade, so like once you're out of grenades, you're in a significantly worse spot. So today we've been building around your grenade launcher predominantly, on top of as many range damage perks as we can actually take. Now, for the perk tree here, I do start off with the perk here, Extended Magazine first. Magazine size increases by 15% of the maximum. Now, this will buff up the bolter portion of your gun, not just the grenade launcher portion, but the fact that you can actually get more grenades out of this perk as well makes it a super valuable option. And the next perk here is Magazine Restoration. When your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve is stored by a full magazine, cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, this will not restore grenades for you, but it will help out your ammo economy. And also, if you drop below 30% HP here, you will still be able to regain that contested health and not actually lose any total HP at all while triggering the perk effect. So, really valuable perk here. Next perk here is Cleaving Fire, moving here into the perk Remote Threat for more damage at range. This one pairs very well with Long Range Barrage, like I said before. Then I pick up the perk here, Great Might, into the perk here, Increased Capacity. The maximum ammo reserve of this weapon increases by 20%, and this will buff up both the bolter portion and your grenade portion, just like the Extended Magazine perk, so a really valuable option for us. Then I go up here into the perk Headhunter for 10% more headshot damage, and we skip over Tactical Precision here because this perk will lower the total damage you do with grenades, even if you want like the headshot damage buff, but I think the grenades are a little bit more valuable on this build. Next perk here is Recoupment, killing a Majoris or higher enemy with a headshot this weapon restores an armor segment. The cooldown is 15 seconds. Now, armor restoration on the Techmarine is very strong because, like I mentioned before, when you lose your armor on Techmarine, you're in a really bad spot. You have the lowest HP total in the entire game and the highest knockdown time of any class in the game, and because of that, you're in a pretty tough position if you actually get your armor broken. So Recoupment, a really good perk effect, and you can also trigger this on enemies that are currently in an executable state. So if a Tyranid Warrior is red, you can just shoot them instead of like an execute and just get back armor at range. So really good option there. Next perk here is Rapid Health. When your health is below 30%, killing 7 enemies, Rapid Succession restores health by 10%. This is really good for keeping you above like one-shot breakpoints because being below 30% HP on Techmarine is a really bad spot to be in. And this is also very easy to trigger because you do have, you know, a fucking grenade launcher. So blowing up like 7 Cultists, 7 Hormigons, or like 7 Zangors, pretty easy to do. Final options here are Perpetual Penetration into the perk here, Divine Might, for a flat 10% buff to buff up both the bolter portion and the grenade portion. And I go down here for Extended Magazine again to buff up our total grenade capacity, because having more grenades on this build is very important, and for a couple reasons actually. Because first of all, the CHP here is just super strong, like I mentioned before, but also the Heroic Plasma Pistol, this weapon is not very good at CHP regen at all because you can't really use this one in a pinch. It has way too long of a charge up time, and because of that, having more grenades to maintain your CHP here on top of your servo gun is very valuable, and for that reason, and that's why I prefer going down here into the perk Extended Magazine instead of skipping over this for something like Tactical Precision or Fast Reload. Now, for the secondary here with the Heroic Plasma Pistol, we do have the Heroic perk effect Overcharged Plasma Coils, only fires charged shots of increased damage, but charge time is longer. Now, this weapon has a 5 business day charge up speed, and usually you will overheat on the first shot no matter what, but on this build we are taking the perk over here, Charge Cooling, that will leave you at a 90% overheat instead, so you can fire off a second shot with like a full overheat waiting for your weapon to cool down. Now, the rest of the perk tree is pretty standard. We take Plasma Collection over here into the perk Rapid Cooling, then I grab Plasma Collection again into the perk over here, Blast Radius, for more charge shot blast radius, going into the perk Perpetual Velocity for even faster charge rate, because without this perk, your weapon will take way way too long to honestly just charge up at all. It's like, this is mandatory in my opinion. And honestly, you're going to pick this up anyways because it's part of all of like the best setups regardless. Next perk here is efficient charge. Into the perk here, perfect cooling. And the final perk is of course charge cooling. And your final perk option down here is up to you. You can take Divine Might or Plasma Collection. On the run I'll show, I did actually take Plasma Collection, did help me out quite a bit. And also keep in mind that on this build, you will not one-shot Rubric Marines on the Plasma Pistol without the perk here, Long Range Barrage, being active. So like when you are 20 meters away from an enemy, your charge shot of your Heroic Plasma Pistol will straight up one-shot a Rubric Marine. And what I mean by that is it will not put them to execute at all. They will just explode. So that can actually be a huge negative for you as a Techmarine. So just be careful if you're trying to get an execute to like shoot them at a closer range. So just be aware of that. Though this perk will not affect that breakpoint. Now for the melee weapon here of the Xenophase Blade, the Xenophase Blade is really strong on Techmarine because basically every single power style attack you do in a power sword will set up a Minoris into a gunstrike scenario for you, and because of that, those gunstrike opportunities, you're able to trigger your servo gun gunstrikes over and over in a horde while spamming your light attacks on these weapons to very easily maintain armor. So the power sword actually pretty strong on the Techmarine. And also the perk effect here, Ancient Technology, power rake waves are wider and deal 20% more damage. This is both a horizontal and vertical change, so your vertical power rake damage or power rake window, or I should say power rake angle, is getting significantly better here for hitting things like Zoanthropes, Neurothropes, and Light and Zangor, so really good for anti-air as well. And the damage here is quite high because the perk over here, Arc Cleave, will affect your charge melee attacks and held melee attacks. It is the same as overcharge, even though the description is wrong. Now, for the perk tree on this, I do take the perk Armor Strength first. If you have armor remaining, melee damage increases by 10%. The Techmarine has a ton of armor regen, so this perk is pretty much always up. Moving here into the perk Master of Offense, after you switch sword combat style, you deal 20% more melee damage for 5 seconds. The cooldown is 10 seconds. Then we move here into the perk Perpetual Strength and Perpetual Strength, into the perk Tranquility, and then I pick up the perk Melee Onslaught. This weapon deals 10% more melee damage. Into the perk Hard Target. While performing a light combo, you will take 15% less range damage. Then we grab Cutting Edge for a 50% bonus power rake buff. Into Extremis Slayer, Majora Slayer, and Terminus Slayer. And we pretty much always skip over Minoris Slayer because all the power swords in this game are very strong at killing Minoris, so this is kind of redundant. And the final perk instead is Power Restoration for double CHP recovery in power style, because usually if you're trying to avoid chip damage, it will be against Minoris enemies, so double CHP recovery on power style, which is what you will usually be using against them anyways, is quite strong to avoid that chip damage, and less chip damage is always good for Techmarine. That's pretty much all there is for the power sword here. Now I will say, if you want to take like other options, like a balanced Omnissian Axe, I would set up this way, or like a power axe, I would set up this way on the block version or the balanced version, but I would definitely suggest balanced. And all of the power sword options in this game, they did get a slight speed increase this patch, so they're all feeling a lot better than they used to. So if you want to take some of these, you could definitely do that. That's pretty much all there is for the main weapon selection. Now, for our perk tree, the first perk I take here is Explosive Enfilade. After using equipment, your range damage increases by 15% for 10 seconds. The buff here is okay, but the main reason I take this is because I want the Bolter Servo Gun. The Bolter Servo Gun is actually quite strong at recovering your CHP. It is an instant effect. It will target enemies significantly better than the Plasma Enhancement does in my experience, and also the shots are much faster, and the CHP recovery is quite powerful. So for that reason, I do prefer it on this build, though if you want things like Plasma Collection, Plasma Enhancement, or Precision Enhancement, you could do these. I'm just taking this one today. Next perk here is Arc Cleave. The damage from charged melee attacks increases by 20%. This is just overcharge for Techmarine, so helps our Xenophase Blade a ton. And the next perk after this is Long Range Barrage. Range damage at ranges greater than 20 meters increases by 25%. This is powerful for both grenades, our plasma pistol, and our bolter portion of our heavy bolt rifle, so great pick here. You know, they did buff up this perk for a 50% bonus on equipment damage. This is not an equipment build, though. We don't even have the perk here of Punching Salvo, so for the most part, we are just going to stick with this one because the other melee options, like Push the Advantage, are not very strong for our build. Next perk here is Battlefield Repairs. Team members restore one additional armor segment for finishers on Majoris or Extremis. This is the Techmarine's best team perk by far. Now, Combat Squad Resupply is not terrible, and Reinforced Position did get buffed, but this one, additional armor is just too good in this game to not take, in my opinion, at least for our solo build we're using today. Next perk here is an extra level salvo. While the servo gun is active, you don't lose control of heavy hits, it cannot be knocked back. This effect lasts 15 seconds after deactivation. Having no knockback on the Techmarine is just super strong. Even on like the worst option here without lethal perimeter, it is still a very powerful tool. So if you want to take this, you definitely should. I think it's very strong with the Xenophase blade, but some other good options here are like synergistic arsenal and even designated target. The next perk here is Augmented Tarantula. Tarantula Sentry Gun increases by 30% and ammo increases by 50%. Now, this helps out your Tarantula Sentry Guns a ton on this build. There was actually a point in this run where this perk pretty much saved my life against a Hellbrute, so a really strong option. Though I will say, if you don't want the Sentry Gun build on this, you can definitely take Replenishing Salvo. A 75-second cooldown equipment is also very powerful, so that is up to you. Next perk here is Fortifying Salvo for 1 armor regen every 30 seconds on killing or incapacitating an enemy with the servo gun. This is just free armor, so I pretty much always pick this up. The only time I take something down here like Strategic Gun Strike is with Decapitating Stratagem, because it's pretty much mandatory there on like the precision enhancement, but for this build and like pretty much any other build like plasma enhancement and stuff, we just always take Fortifying Salvo because this perk up here is not super strong. Final perk here is Omnissian Fury. Servo gunshots set enemies on fire. Whenever you are not taking the, the precision enhancement here, you just take the burn. The burn effect here is very strong on the bolter portion, and even though they nerf burn damage on bosses by 20% this patch, it still does like a ridiculous amount. You will still put out stupid damage, and also Majoris Extremis are still affected by this as normal, so a really strong perk option. Though if you do want to take the perk up here, Lethal Perimeter, this is also pretty decent with the bolter portion, but I prefer this for like the instantaneous button click of the servo gun, because when you take Lethal Perimeter in this game, you have to mark down a zone similar to the Auspex that does have a little bit of a delay to it, which is kind of worse for your CHP recovery and taking the Omnissian burn here. That's pretty much all there is for the main perk tree. Now for the prestige perk options, we do take chain headshots first. Headshot damage increases by 3% per consecutive headshot up to a maximum of 15%. The bonus lasts 5 seconds without landing a headshot. If you are taking a bolter on the operations or hard strats, you just pick up this perk. It will buff up your damage a lot. Next perk here is a flinching focus. You are invulnerable to damage while activating Tarantula Sentry Guns. You also pretty much always take this perk, because without this, you can just like damn near die instantly during a Sentry Gun activation. I mean, you can't actually die during Sentry Gun activations in the sense that while you are in the animation, it is impossible to be incapacitated, but you can lose like 90% of your HP and instantly die when you get out. So definitely pick this up. Next perk here is Stim Boost. Medicae stims for 40% more HP. Moving here into the final perk, Furious Gunstrike. After using Gunstrike, melee damage increases by 25% for 5 seconds. The reason this is so strong on the Techmarine for the Xenophase blade is that if you get a parry on the Xenophase, you can then servo gun Gunstrike them and do your power rake immediately after while they are staggered from the servo Gunstrike, and also activate the melee damage buff here to hit some breakpoints. So really strong perk combo for both this and like pretty much every other balanced weapon in the game on Techmarine. And hopefully that makes sense, and that is pretty much all there is for this build guide, guys. Hey guys, first regards from here, I'll be talking about a Combi Melta Power Axe build for the Techmarine class in Space Marine 2 patch 13. Now, in my opinion, the Combi Melta is kind of an underrated gun on this class. It may not be as strong as the Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle or the Bolt Rifle Grenade Launcher option, but the utility here is quite high, mainly because the Melta portion of this weapon is very strong for staggering Chaos enemies and triggering your perk effects down here like Rapid Health or potentially even Rampage. So I will be building around that today. So number one, we do take the perk here, Extended Magazine. A magazine size increases by 15% of the maximum. Now this will improve the Melta portion capacity and the magazine capacity of your weapons, so really valuable perk for us. Next perk here is Magazine Restoration. When your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve restored by a full magazine, cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Now this will only restore the bolter portion of your gun, not the Melta, but still pretty strong option for us because the Techmarine is not very ammo efficient when it comes to his actual weapons, so some ammo restoration here is nice. The next perk here is Perpetual Precision for less weapon spread, and moving here into the perk Able Precision. And then we take the perk over here, Great Might, Increased Capacity, which will up both the Melta portion and our weapon capacity again. Then we go up here to Recoupment for Armor Restore on a headshot kill from Majoris or above with a 15-second cooldown, because Armor Restoration on the Techmarine is super valuable because this guy has the lowest HP total in Space Marine 2, tied with the sniper class, and because of that, when you lose your armor, you're kind of fucked, so you really want to have some option to regenerate that. Next perk here is Tactical Precision. Now this is a choice you can make. You can either take this perk here for more headshot damage like I did, but you will lose a little bit of your Melta rifle damage, or you can just skip over this and take Divine Might down here for a flat 10% buff. And then I pick up the perk here, Adamantine Grip, moving here into the perk Rapid Health. When your health's below 30%, killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores health by 10%. This perk effect is very strong on this gun because getting 7 enemies killed in rapid succession is very easy for the Melta portion of this weapon, and also being above a 30% HP threshold on the Techmarine especially is super valuable because, like I said before, you are very squishy, so being below 30%, that is usually like one-shot territory. Next perk here is Headhunter, down here to the perk Extended Magazine. That's pretty much all there is for the main Combi Melta portion. Now, for the secondary weapon, I do take the Inferno Pistol. Now, in patch 13, they have fixed up a bugged interaction with this weapon and the Techmarine, where the Techmarine's servo gun gunstrike range was actually being affected by the Inferno Pistol gunstrike range, because this weapon has a limited gunstrike range on a perfect parry, which it does kind of suck on its own, but now the Techmarine can completely circumvent that by just using his servo gun gunstrike after a parry, and this weapon, you don't really have to worry about the gunstrike damage at all, and because of that, it's actually quite a strong option for the Techmarine himself. Now, the version I pick here is the magazine capacity and reserve option. Into the perk tree here, Perpetual Range first, moving here into the perk Brace Reload, and then I grab the perk here, Perpetual Range, up here into Great Might, picking up Increased Capacity, Adamant Restoration, into the perk here, Extra Shot and Trick Shot. Killing 5 enemies with one shot restores an armor segment. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, being able to one-shot 5 enemies is actually pretty damn easy on this weapon, especially for cultists and things like Hormagaunts. So Inferno Pistol is actually pretty good against both factions, and for that reason we're picking it up today. Though I will say, if you don't want the Inferno Pistol for like redundancy, you can just take like a Rate of Fire Plasma or like a Heroic Plasma Pistol. These will definitely work for you, or maybe even like a Neo-Volkite pistol is also quite strong here because this one also got buffed this patch. Now, for the melee weapon here, I do take the Balanced Power Axe. Now, the Balanced Power Axe actually has a higher base damage than the Block Power Axe, but the Block Power Axe can reach a higher damage overall with Adrenaline Surge charges. That being said, on the Techmarine, you pretty much always want gun strikes because this is like the gun strike class, and because of that, a balanced option is by far the best for him. And one more thing about the balanced weapon here is that you can actually one combo Majoris off of a perfect parry, power backstep into a servo gun gunstrike and riposte on the Techmarine with 1 perk point investment in the perk here, Arc Cleave. So a really good option for him. And for the perks around this to actually achieve that one-shot combo, we do start off with the perk here, Perpetual Strength, for a melee damage increase of 5%. Moving here into the perk Coup de Grace, Perpetual Strength and Perpetual Strength. Then we pick up the perk here, Counterattack, to get the most important perk, which is Riposte. Overhead strike damage after performing a power backstep is doubled. This is mandatory for the one-shot combo because without the double damage here on overhead strike, you will not actually achieve a execute state on a Majoris, so definitely pick this up. Next perk here is Hard Target, moving here into the perk Tactical Retreat for 25% more damage on a power backstep. Then we go up here for the perk Power Wave, Power Backstep Wave, it damages more enemies. Now, the Power Axe in patch 13 got a buff overall to like actually hit more enemies on the Power Wave anyways, so this perk is actually better than ever. And the final perk here is Cleaver for a 10% buff to all of your damage against Majoris and higher enemies. That's pretty much all there is for the Power Axe. Now, for the Techmarine perk tree, I do build around equipment a little bit on top of things like a bolt or burn option. So the first perk I take here is Explosive Enfilade. After using equipment, your range damage increases by 15% for 10 seconds. This is the only perk you can take to actually pick up the standard bolter option on your servo gun, and the bolter option on the servo gun is actually very strong for CHP recovery and applying burn on single targets as opposed to like the plasma and precision enhancement, so I do like it for this option. And the CHP recovery here is very high, and the number of shots bouncing it off are quite tremendous, so really good option for that. Next perk here is Arc Cleave. Damage from charged melee attacks increases by 20%. This is just the overcharge perk on the Techmarine. Is the exact same perk effect, except just has a different description, so definitely pick this up. Next perk here actually got buffed this patch. It's called Explosives Adept. Damage from equipment increases by 50%. You know, if you don't want to take this perk, you don't have to. There are potentially better options like Long Range Barrage, even on the Combi Melta, because a 25% range damage buff at ranges greater than 20 meters is actually pretty easy to pull off on the bolter portion here. I'm just going for like full explosives damage, so we're taking this. Next perk here is too good to not take, in my opinion, and that is Battlefield Repairs. Team members restore 1 additional armor segment for finishers on Majoris or Extremis enemies. This is the best team perk on Techmarine by far, and when I say by far, I mean it's so good that you pretty much always take this one no matter what. And the next perk here is Inexorable Salvo. While the servo gun is active, you don't lose control from heavy hits, cannot be knocked back. This effect will last 15 seconds after deactivation. This is like the main no knockback perk on Techmarine. Really strong for like any melee focused build like us for like the Power Axe, so definitely grab this. Next perk here is Replenishing Salvo. Killing or incapacitating an enemy with the servo gun restores 1 equipment charge. The cooldown is 75 seconds. This is a very powerful option for recovering your equipment in this game. A 75-second cooldown is actually pretty low compared to options like Consecutive Execution that have a 90-second cooldown, so definitely grab this. And the next perk here is Fortifying Salvo. Killing or incapacitating an enemy with the servo gun restores an armor segment. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, you will be killing enemies with your bolter servo all the time. This will trigger on like Minoris and even Cultists if your servo gun like actually hits them, so definitely pick this up. And the final perk here is Omnissian Fury for servo gun shots setting enemies on fire, because if you're not taking the like precision enhancement here, you pretty much always take this perk on the plasma and bolter option. I mean, you could take lethal perimeter. I'll probably do that in a build at some point, but for now I think the burn is just like too good to not take, even with like the boss damage nerf in patch 13. Now for the prestige perk options, I take chained headshots first, because on the bolter portion with this gun, chained headshots is pretty much a great option all the time. If you ever take a bolter on the Techmarine, you just take this perk because it is literally just acuity from the tactical. The next perk here is Unflinching Focus. You are invulnerable to damage while activating torrential sentry guns. If you want to use your sentry guns, you just take this perk. Final perks here are Blast Radius for an increased equipment damage radius by 15%, because we do have this perk here. And the final perk I take is either Stim Boost or Defensive Stance. It is up to you. We do skip over Furious Gunstrike here because you don't actually need this to hit the breakpoint on the Power Axe or the perk here Arc Cleave and Riposte, because your damage is already at that level. But if you want to take this for like a little bit more damage against bosses and Extremis, you could do that. That is up to you. And that is pretty much all there is for the Combi Melta Techmarine build. Now, hey guys, first Guardsman here, and I'll be talking about an auto bolt rifle build for the Techmarine class in Space Marine 2 patch 13. And now the main idea behind this build is using combat squad resupply with other equipment perks like Methodical Destruction, Explosive Enfilade, and of course Explosive Adept to maximize our equipment damage and just have our horde clear with our auto bolt rifle, and also have some damage nuking on the heroic plasma pistol here. Now for the auto bolt rifle, I do pick up the magazine capacity and reserve option just because this is mostly a barrel stuffing weapon in the first place, so you really don't need extra accuracy here. Like, this version will run out of ammo, especially on Techmarine, so definitely pick this one up. And for the perk tree here, it is pretty standard. I really think there's only like 1 or like maybe 2 good build paths on this weapon in the first place. So first up, we take Home Precision for a 50% reduced weapon spread while hip firing. This is really mandatory in my opinion, because otherwise your accuracy does kind of suck outside the hip fire, and also the Techmarine does not get locked into gun strikes remotely as much because you do have servo guns for that for like no animation. Next perk here is Close Combat for 15% more damage while within 15 meters of an enemy. Then we go here to the perk Fast Reload, and of course the perk here Headhunter, into the most important perk, which is Elite Hunter. After killing a Majoris or higher enemy with a melee weapon, headshots will deal 25% more damage for 10 seconds. Now this will trigger on a melee execute, not just a melee kill, so keep that in mind. And then we go down here for the perk Great Might, into the perk here a Rampage for 25% more damage for 10 seconds on killing 7 enemies in rapid succession. Now in patch 13, it did buff up all of the bolter weapon body shot damage, so this perk is actually pretty easy to pull off. And the final perk here is Increased Capacity, because on the Techmarine especially, you would definitely want more ammo. But I will say, if you want armor regen and some HP healing, you could take Rapid Health and stuff like Recoupment, but that is up to you. And now for the secondary, we do take the heroic plasma pistol and build for just damage here. The main reason I like this weapon on this build is because the auto bolt rifle is not very strong for damage nuking, and this definitely is. So when it comes to extremis and some of the harder Majoris in the game, this is a great option to have as your secondary. Now for the perk tree, I do start off with the perk here, Plasma Collection first, moving here into the perk Rapid Cooling, Plasma Collection again into Blast Radius, Perpetual Velocity, Plasma Collection, you know, the pretty standard stuff here, Blast Radius, into Retaliation for 25% more damage for 10 seconds on a perfect dodge. Then we finish off with the perk here, Divine Might, for more damage. Now, alternatively, you could go all the way down the top tree for things like Charge Cooling to get 2 shots off, but to be honest, I don't think that's super good on this build. Like, you really just want this one for damage, not double shot. And for our melee weapon selection, we do take the Argent Edge. This is the best fencing weapon in the entire game, and really just the best offensive weapon in all Space Marine 2 currently. And the big benefit of this weapon on the Techmarine is that unlike the Power Sword, Power Axe, and Omnissian Axe, you do not have to take the perk here, Arc Cleave, to get like serious benefit of this melee weapon. This perk here is super strong on those heavy attack options, but on the Argent Edge, you have the option to take stuff like Methodical Destruction and the Omnissian Axe Deflection without actually losing anything, because this weapon is just for gun strikes and defense as opposed to the direct melee damage of these options. Now for the perk tree here, we just go for like full damage anyways, because the base damage of this one is actually okay. You really don't use it too much for damage, but that being said, the Argent Edge is okay when it comes to just like fighting off Majoris and stuff like that. So I still take the perk down here, Perpetual Strength first, moving here to the perk Kinetic Energy, and then pick up Perpetual Strength again into the perk here, Heavy Onslaught. And then we pick up the perk Reeling Blow, Shadow Stab, Tide of Battle, Shoulder Bash, and Terminus Slayer. That's pretty much all there is for this one. And like, you could really build it however you want. If you want to go all the way down the top tree for like light attack damage, you could do that. Or even like skip out this perk for Extremis Slayer down here. That's definitely an option. But the main thing we want from this weapon is the heroic perk effect here, Scathing Retort. The riposte window is shorter, but each perfect parry damages and staggers the enemy, because this perk is just godlike. It'll give you a gun strike on every single parry, no matter what, pretty much, on like 99% of enemies, and that will save your life. And on the Techmarine especially, this class wants as many gun strikes as possible, so the Argent Edge is overall the best option for him. Now, for the perk tree, I do start off with the perk here, Explosive Enfilade first. After using equipment, your range damage increases by 15% for 10 seconds. Now, if you stack this perk on top of the 25% damage taken debuff from enemies damaged by equipment on Methodical Destruction, on top of like the bonus damage on your frags from Explosive Adept, you can actually nuke enemies very quickly with your Plasma Pistol or even the Auto Bolt Rifle, so pretty good synergy there. And I will say, the bolter option for the Techmarine Servo Gun is pretty underrated with the burn effect, because your CHP recovery here is very high, on top of the fact that damage is quite good. Though I will say, if you don't care too much for this, you could take Precision Enhancement and the perk here, Lethal Perimeter, and also take stuff like Strategic Gun Strike if you really wanted to. That is up to you. The next perk here is Methodical Destruction. Enemies damaged by equipment take 25% more damage for 10 seconds. This is a really powerful perk in Space Marine 2 for a damage taken debuff on the enemies. It is very noticeable, very potent perk effect, and also helps out with synergies with stuff like Explosive Adept and stuff down here like Blast Radius for 15% more equipment damage radius. Next perk here is Explosives Adept, and damage from equipment increases by 50%. This got buffed up in patch 13 to be at 50% instead of like 30%. It doesn't feel like ridiculously powerful. On a Melta Bomb, sometimes just one-shot guys. On the frag grenades and shocks and cracks, it is like kind of nice there, but for the most part, it's like kind of a gimmicky effect. But I do like it here just because we are going for full, you know, equipment focus here. But if you want to take stuff like a long-range barrage, you can definitely do that instead, or maybe even push the advantage. But on Argent Edge, I would definitely skip over this one. Next perk here is Combat Squad Resupply. All team members gain one additional equipment except for Melta Bombs. This is a pretty fun perk effect. Battlefield Repairs is definitely better, but that being said, having an extra crack grenade, shock grenade, frag, this is definitely a noticeable bonus, so really nice to have, and also fits our build pretty perfectly. Next perk here is an extrable salvo. While the servo gun is active, you don't destroy heavy hits and cannot be knocked back. This effect lasts 15 seconds after deactivation. You could really take whatever you want in this column here. You don't need to have no knockback on an Argent Edge build if you don't want. It's just a little bit of a redundant effect to keep you alive, but the perk up here, Designated Target, for 15% more damage taken by enemies hit by your servo gun for 10 seconds. This is still a great option if you want that. Even the perk down here, Synergistic Arsenal, for 25% more servo gun recharge around your active turrets, is also pretty good, but that is up to you. Next perk here is, of course, Replenishing Salvo. Killing or incapacitating enemy through servo gun restores one equipment charge. The cooldown is 75 seconds. Well, guys, we are an equipment-focused build here, so you definitely want this perk. I mean, having extra equipment on a 75-second cooldown is already good on its own, but on this one, we have a ton of options for equipment bonuses anyway, so definitely grab this. And the final perk here in the gear tree is a Fortifying Salvo. Killing or incapacitating an enemy with the servo gun restores an armor segment. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, on a bolter servo gun, this is a very powerful option because all you have to do is shoot like a Hormigaunt in the face and get armor back. Though I will say, if you're taking precision enhancement, I would definitely pick up strategic gun strike because wasting your sniper servo gun shots on a Hormigaunt feels awful, so that is up to you, but definitely pick this up for like precision enhancement here. The next perk here is of course Omnissian Fury. Servo gun shots set enemies on fire. You could take lethal perimeter on the standard bolter option here for your servo gun, but to be honest, the bolter burn is just way better here for boss killing and stuff like that, and your boss damage here is not awful, but definitely does help out quite a bit there. Now, for the prestige perks, we just take chain headshots first because we have a bolter weapon. Then we go here into unflinching focus, so we can actually activate sentry guns without taking damage. And the final perks are, of course, blast radius and defensive stance. And alternatively, you could take stim boost if you wanted to, but that is up to you. That's pretty much all there is for this Techmarine build, guys. I mean, the auto bolt rifle here actually performs shockingly well. I was pretty surprised because this gun is like notably bad, even according to Saber. But to be honest, it's not as bad as you might expect initially, and does perform fairly well with all like the range damage buffs here, like the explosive enfilade and the damage taken debuffs on methodical destruction. So hopefully this build guide helped you. Hey guys, first regards on here, I'll be talking about one of my favorite Techmarine builds in Space Marine 2 patch 13 to dominate hordes in hard stratagems and operations with the heroic heavy bolt rifle and of course the Omnissian Axe. Now the Omnissian Axe is by far my favorite weapon on the Techmarine. This thing is super fun to use. The horde clear potential is kind of ridiculous. You can actually like one combo Majoris, and the variant we are choosing today is the balanced version because the balanced version is just the overall best in my opinion. I mean, the damage here is very high, the speed is pretty good, and the cleaving potential is very strong, and most importantly, you get gun strikes, which are super important on the Techmarine, and you also still hit the breakpoints to one combo Majoris with stuff like arc cleave. So for that reason, I do prefer it over stuff like the block version, the fencing version, or definitely the heroic version. Now, for the perk tree here, it is pretty much the standard option for horde clear. I do think this is like the overall best setup for the Omnissian Axe. First up, we take Perpetual Strength, moving here into the perk Armor Siphon, killing of both the Omnissian Strike restores an armor segment at the cooldown of 60 seconds. And then I pick up the perk here, Perpetual Strength again, moving here into the perk Static Charge. Each foe hit during Omnissian Rush increases damage of 10% within 4 seconds. I mean, you can pretty much tell the description here is a bit incorrect, but this just gives you a little bit more damage during your Omnissian Rush. Next perk here is Iron Rush, incoming range damage reduced by 50% while using the Omnissian Rush attack. This perk is super strong because the Omnissian Rush attack is ever so slightly faster than your normal sprinting, and a 50% range damage reduction is very powerful in Space Marine 2. And this really helps you out against Chaos and Tyranids as well, so great for all factions. The next perk here is Armored Strength, moving here to the perk Perpetual Strength again. And then I pick up the perk here, Energize. While charging and releasing electric discharge, you don't lose 12 heavy hits, cannot be knocked back. Into the most important perks here, which are Rapid Charge for a faster charge rate and electric discharge, because this is super important for like actually getting your combo out. And the final thing here is of course Mighty Blast. Power discharge releases 2 shockwaves. Now the double shockwave here is also very important because this is how you actually breakpoint it to one combo Majoris on the discharge here, so definitely pick this up. And that's pretty much all there is for the Omnissian Axe. Now, for the primary range weapon, I do take the heroic heavy bolt rifle, mainly because this thing is just the overall best for Techmarine, in my opinion. Really, if you're playing siege mode or hard strats, you still have stuff like rapid health, rampage, armor regen, a ton of CHP recovery off the grenades. It is a very powerful weapon in Space Marine 2, one of the best options in the game in general for both this class and tactical. So the first perk I take here is Extended Magazine. Magazine size increases by 15% of the maximum. And this will buff up not only your basic bolter magazine, but also your grenade launcher portion, so really valuable for us. Then I move here into the perk Magazine Restoration. When your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve is stored by a full magazine, cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, This perk will not refill your grenades, it will only refill your standard ammunition, but that's still pretty strong here because the Techmarine does not have like the best ammo economy ever, and most of his ammo economy is supported by stuff like turrets and of course his servo gun. Now, the next perk I take here is of course Cleaving Fire, moving here into the perk Remote Threat for 20% more damage while at a distance of more than 25 meters. Then we pick up the perk here Great Might, increased capacity for even more ammunition and more grenades. And we go up here for the perk Headhunter into the perk here Recoupment. Killing a Majoris or higher enemy with a headshot with this weapon restores one armor segment. The cooldown is 15 seconds. This perk is so valuable in Space Marine 2, but especially for the Techmarine because the Techmarine has the lowest HP total in the game, tied to Sniper, but unfortunately, unlike every other class, he has access to 0 damage reduction pretty much, or health increases, which means that if you get your armor broken, you're in a pretty bad spot, so Recoupment is super strong on him. Next perk here is Rapid Health. When your health is below 30%, killing 7 enemies, rapid success restores health by 10%. This is a really strong perk effect and also really easy to pull off on a grenade launcher, and this will also help you stay above breakpoints that otherwise one-shots you and save some stims, so pretty nice option here. Next perk here is Perpetual Penetration, going down here into the perk Extended Magazine again. Then you can either pick up the perk here like I did, Divine Might for 10% damage buff, or go down here for the perk Remote Threat. That is up to you, and I'll also say, if you want to skip over Extended Magazine or Divine Might entirely, you could just go up here for more headshot damage on Tactical Precision, but you will lose some damage on your grenade launcher portion, but it's not too bad because your grenades will still recover you like instantaneous CHP recovery. It's just worse for like direct damage on hordes. So that is up to you, and that's pretty much all there is for the Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle. Now for the secondary here, I just take the new Heroic Plasma Pistol. I think this gun complements the Techmarine super well, and it really complements any class that has a good primary option because this one's just a damage nuking tool, so we just go for full damage. You could build the double shot here with charge cooling because as long as you have this perk, you will be able to get 2 shots off on this weapon instead of 1, but today I'm just going for full blast radius here and full damage. So first up, I take the perk here, Plasma Collection, moving here to the perk Rapid Cooling, Plasma Collection again, blast radius for more charge shot radius, going here to the perk Perpetual Velocity, then we go all the way down for stuff like blast radius, retaliation for 25% more damage on a perfect dodge, and the final perk is Divine Might, and that's pretty much all there is for our weapon selection. Now for the perk tree, this is where things are pretty interesting on the Techmarine. You do have a couple options here because number one, you can take precision enhancement like I did. This perk says that the servo gun now targets a single dangerous enemy and fires powerful precision shots. This one is, in my opinion, the best for hard strats and operations just because it will do a tremendous amount of damage to bosses, extremis, and majoris, and the enemy clusters are not that bad in ops and hard strats on most modifiers. Even on those higher ones, it still overperforms all the time, so a really strong option. Also allows you to one-shot zone throws and stuff like that. Next perk here is Arc Cleave. Damage from charged melee attacks increases by 20%. This is just the overcharge perk on the Techmarine. I know that the description here is a little bit different, but just keep in mind, Arc Cleave works exactly the same as the overcharge perk. It's just a 20% multiplicative melee damage buff, a really strong option. Next perk here is Long Range Barrage. Range damage at ranges greater than 20 meters increases by 25%. This is super nice for like any ranged weapon in this game pretty much. Like the Oculus Carbine works very well with this, the Bolt Rifle Grenade Launcher, the Plasma Incinerator, you name it. Very powerful perk option in this column, much better than like Push the Advantage or Explosives Adept. I know some people like the damage buff here on Push the Advantage or stuff like Counter-Offensive Protocol, but in my opinion, the melee damage buff here is just not necessary because you already hit that breakpoint to one combo Majoris, and like 99% of the time, you're going to be using Precision Enhancement to like one-shot the Extremis anyways, or the Extremis are like not super important to breakpoint in the first place, so I just prefer just taking this one and going for some extra range damage instead. Next perk here is Battlefield Repairs. Team members restore 1 additional armor segment for finishers on Majoris or Extremis enemies. This perk is just incredibly valuable, by far the best option operations and hard strats in my opinion, and ever since they reworked this perk, it has been pretty top tier, so definitely pick it up. Next perk here is an Inexorable Salvo. While the servo gun is active, you don't lose control of heavy hits and cannot be knocked back. This effect lasts 15 seconds after deactivation. So A cool interaction here is that you can take Lethal Perimeter here, which will say the servo gun marks a zone and automatically attacks enemies that enter it using 50% less energy per shot. But how this perk actually works is that you put down what is effectively an Auspex scan zone, and you can shoot that Auspex scan zone at the ceiling and trigger perk effects immediately like this without losing your cooldown at all, and also trigger perk effects like counter offensive protocols for melee damage. So Lethal Perimeter, a ton of utility on a no knockback build, so a really good option here. Next perk here is Replenishing Salvo. Killing or incapacitating an enemy with the servo gun restores an equipment charge. The cooldown is 75 seconds. I mean, free grenades, free Melta bombs, top tier effect on every class pretty much. Though I will say, if you want to take Augmented Tarantula or the perk up here, Augmented Ammunition Feed, they're all pretty strong here. It is up to you. You can take whatever you want. I'm just taking this one today because I think overall the consecutive execution and stuff like this is very powerful. Next perk here is Strategic Gun Strike. Servo gun only targets Majoris or higher enemies and deals 20% more damage when the target is more than 20 meters away. The big thing here is using your precision enhancement and shooting a Hormigaunt in the face is one of the worst feelings on earth, so I do prefer this option. Though if you want to have like armor regen or more melee damage, you can definitely do that. I just think this one's overall the best because we do have a ton of armor regen already with stuff like Battlefield Repairs and our perk effect here like Recoupment. If you want that extra bit from Fortifying Salvo, you can definitely do that. Final perk here is Lethal Perimeter. The servo gun marks a zone and automatically attacks enemies that enter it using 50% less energy per shot. This is the best option overall for precision enhancement in my opinion. Decapitating Stratagem is not bad. I think this one just gives you way more utility on perk effects like counter-offensive protocols or an extra salvo. So for that reason, I do prefer it here, and also gives you a pretty easy tool to like pinpoint an enemy like a Zoanthrope or a Neurothrope and stuff like that. Now, for our Prestige perk options, we just take Chained Headshots first for more headshot damage on our Bolter option. Unflinching Focus, so we can actually activate our Torrential Sentry guns at all, and the final perks are Stim Boost and Furious Gunstrike for more melee damage after a gunstrike, and that is pretty much all there is for this build, guys. The Omnissian Axe is a super fun weapon on this class. You know, it's definitely my preferred, and hopefully this build guide helped you. And if you like content like this, subscribe for more. And if you want to catch me live to ask me questions about the game or just come hang out, you can find me here on YouTube or on Twitch with a link in the video description alongside a link to my community Discord. And I also want to say a special thank you to all my channel members. Your support has been tremendous and super helpful, and as always, thank you for watching. Take it easy. Bye.